So glad you can join me today, join us here at Sacred Mountain Sangha, join together at this on this day, at this time, wherever you are, whatever part of this magnificent, mysterious, beautiful earth that is our home. You're very welcome. So let's just take a few moments to welcome ourselves into our own heart, this undying, timeless presence within which all ultimately resides, this seamless awareness where there are no ultimate boundaries or divisions, ever present, ever illuminating, ever exploring, grounded within this human form, connecting us as conduits of awakening within the cosmology of all, Gaian cosmology that's conscious, aware, awake, and within which we are embedded and interconnected, interbeing, inter-emergent through our process of mutual liberation. Activated by this plunge at this time into the depths of our own shadow. So we have a very big curriculum, but however big the curriculum is, it always merges into this point of here and now, this present moment, just this much. As Ajahn Chah would say, we're here with just this much, and that this point is the point of where we show up to the best of our ability, with compassion and kindness first for our own being. Very hard to show up these days for even for ourselves, never mind everything else. So we don't have to make a big project of it. It's just the simple act of being here. And so well done for showing up for ourselves, for each other, for the Dharma in this session today. So I invite you, let's begin together by, if it's supportive, just taking 5 slower, deeper breaths. Maybe just counting, touching each finger and thumb to help us ground in this extraordinary, amazing, profoundly rooted earth body, evolved over millennia to be sensitive, receptive, feeling beings. So just 5 slow, deepening breaths through this body into earth. Thank you, dear friends. So we have this wonderful practice of sounding these ancient chants and protection, recitations, and mantras. So I just would like to, but also share screen so you can see. I'm just here putting in the chat our chanting booklet for those that haven't got immediate access. See if I can, a little bit rusty of being online, to tell you the truth. So here we go. I think this will do it. Okay, so actually I think it's really nice to begin with the precepts, especially as we are entering the year anniversary of October the 7th. These are the precepts offered by the Buddha that actually are guardians. They're known, this sila, this cultivation of the training of sila, of inner ethics, are really known as the guardians of the world and guardians of the psyche and our inner realms. So they're very profound and important, and everything is grounded. All of our practice is grounded in the cultivation of the way of non-harming. So beginning with sounding the Namo Tassa, the honoring of our teacher, the Buddha, of the refuges, deepening into this fundamental presence, heart, Buddhang, awakening. It's demonstrated through time and space by the Buddha and many of the enlightened ones offering their guidance, the guidance of the Dharma, the path of awakening, a path within which everything is teaching us, helping us awaken even the great obstacles, and the way of community, coming together to support each other, to inspire, encourage, be with each other on this journey. And in essence, it is, even if we're alone, the path of practice. Everything is a point of transformation. So the Buddha, honoring, paying devotion, respects to awakening wherever it is, as a force in the universe. The refuges and this precept vehicle that we enter consciously together. So we can just go through it together. After each precept we'll also sound the English so we know what we're committing to. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Datyabhi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatyabhi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatyabhi dhamman saranang gacchami. Tatyabhi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panadipata veramani sekapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the training to refrain from intentionally taking life. Hadinadana veramani sekapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the training to refrain from taking that which is not given. Kammesameja jara veramani sekapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the training to refrain from misuse of sexuality and the senses. Musawada veramani sekapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the training to refrain from speech that is false, divisive, harsh, and meaningless. Sura merayama japama tatana veramani sekapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the training to refrain from intoxication which leads to carelessness. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. May peace prevail. And going to the Guan Yin mantra, which is the second mantra. We're just honoring and calling in compassion. The dabe in the parentheses, the brackets, we leave that out, which means just greatly. What the version will do is just Namo Guan Shu Yin Pusa, invoking the one that listens deeply, this primal, aware heart embedded within all is conscious, calling forth, Namo, Namo, I return my life, Guan Shu Yin, to the one that contemplates, reflects on, enters the sentiency of all beingness, to contemplate and know deeply, intimately, with compassion, the sounds of the world, the one who dwells at ease, both responsive, merciful, effectively transforming suffering, dissolving the poisons of the mind, alleviating the fires of the mind with the nectar of sweet dew, using their whisk to wipe away obstructions, holding the wish-fulfilling pearls and healing essences, the manifestation of Guan Yin. As we invoke this great being, presence of compassion is also awakening Guan Yin within as well as the Guan Yin without, knowing ultimately within and without our temporary designations, not really reflecting the non-dual nature of reality. Pusa Bodhisattva. Do a different tune. Yin Putsa Hanam Kwan Shu Yin Putsa Hanam Kwan Shu Yin Putsa Ma Kwan Shu Yin Putsa Hey Nam 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 Kwan Shu Yin Putsa. Whatever extent is possible for you at this moment, to invite your awareness, your presence of heart to be receptive and open to receive what is here now, sensations and feelings, sounds of your embodied experience. If it feels hard to go inward, you can just have a soft gaze, maybe resting on a more neutral object around you. It's soothing, supporting, steadying. Helpful sometimes to just feel the ground beneath us, the simplicity of that pressure, contact with earth. And perhaps on an exhalation, just softening where we're holding in the body, softening and arriving more fully into our seat here, touching, being supported by earth, by the ground, and the ground of the mind, this awareness, presence, heart. So let's just sit quietly together for about 10 minutes or so. Simply breathing, being with how it is. Grounding, touching earth. Gently, patiently, slowing down, arriving into our own experience together, here and now. Thank you, friends. Yeah, so to offer some Dharma reflections at this moment. I'm very, very much with my heart of feelings are very somber, painful, vulnerable, sort of shredded feeling of entering this week. It's the anniversary of October the 7th, which has unleashed everything that has come to pass in this year, rooted in everything that's gone before, and has brought us to a possible point of catastrophe. It's already a catastrophe. It's been long been a catastrophe, but on a level that perhaps we've never seen before. And there's much that we've never seen before that we've been witnessing to. So really, just in the midst of whatever words that come from me in this space, to hold in our hearts this remembrance, this vigil, this moment of reckoning, this call of this curriculum that we've been plunged into so profoundly, that has, in a way, been stripping away everything, the parameters and the world that we thought that was, to open us into both a kind of free fall into a depth of shadow that we never thought possible, and yet at the same time the potential within that of recalibrating in ways that perhaps we don't even know yet what is possible, but know that needs to happen. So it's a very potent, powerful time that demands or calls us to lead from a different part of our being than we usually lead from, the mind that has been soaked and marinated in the separative consciousness of us and them, the 500 years of the systems built on Eurocentric domination, extraction, etc. The mind, as the Buddha, right back in the day, talked about burning with the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. And his quest, might there be another way? There is another way. There's always another way. In that other way, our heart is yearning for that other way as we are called to enter that other way from the heart, listening to the heart beneath the divisions, the conditions, ways that we've been positioned to create conflict and war. So last night I had the privilege of being at a local gathering here in Sebastopol, put together by Salt of the Earth, which brought together Palestinian, Osama Aliwe, and Israeli Jewish man, Rotem Levin, who were speaking about their stories. So a very small gathering in a small venue, and just very intimate, just speaking from their hearts, their stories of both colonized and colonizer. And very moving, and their message really not trying to rush to solutions, not trying to shore up positions, but encouraging us to continue connecting as humans, to go beneath the stories, to find ways of connecting and then to listen in from there. And the message, which is very Buddhist, very dharmic, of that our liberation, very African Ubuntu, that freedom, liberation is mutual. We can't really, at this point, be liberated through domination of others. That in fact we're all here, and that mutual liberation connects us all, even beyond this human realm, into what we often forget, nature's sacred web of life, all the beings that are seeking liberation too. I was with a friend the other day who's very deep wilderness guide and deep kind of nature spirit. And he was telling us that when the Me Too movement arose, he was driving past. He has a very deep connection with land, and we were actually doing a pilgrimage to a huge, beautiful, profound, ancient mountain north of California, Mount Shasta. And he said, as he was driving past, the mountain said to him, "Me too." The land is saying, "Me too, me too." So this liberation connecting us all. And at the moment, the other thing they mentioned is the pain. Pain connects us, suffering connects us, which is what the Buddha brought to us. Deep suffering, and the way that we can have the potential and the movement. Suffering conditions liberation if we can engage it with wisdom. And at the moment, we're seeing the opposite of that, engaging with massive reactivity from the mind, from the conditioning. The rotem coming from the conditioning of being brought up in Israel, being indoctrinated in a militaristic view in the army and so on, and then awakening from that. As many I've heard, many dear friends in Israel calling for us to help stop the state of Israel, making the differentiation of Israelis, of people, as opposed to the state. Not that that's not entwined in many ways, of course, but the state of Israel is out of control. So it is as the Buddha did himself, went out to stop wars, to stop violence. That is within the premise of our Dharma practice. And then also to reclaim the humane for the Palestinian, for those in the Arab world that have been crushed by the West. There's this deep, deep wound of dehumanization. Any way that we dehumanize ourselves, of course. And just reading a quote from a Lebanese writer and translator, Nina Munza, this morning, saying, "Ask any Arab what the most painful realization of the last year has been, and it is this, that we have discovered the extent of our dehumanization to such a degree that it's impossible to function in the world in the same way." So there's so much to say about this, and there's not much time that really for me this morning, but I know that we all know what we're talking about here and how deeply this is deeply personal as well as global. There's so many ways that the ripple impact has shaken all of us. And at the same time this morning, I got a note. Sometimes I just check to see if everyone can get online, what's happening, and really grateful that Emerson, who's here on the call with us, has joined the SMS team, is picking up, doing that as well. And there was a note from someone in North Carolina, Robin, who often comes to the Sangha, saying, "Pray for us here in North Carolina, without running water, power cell, and much, much more. Moved from Sebastopol after fires, and here we landed." There's nowhere really that is immune from the impacts of this ecocide that we have actually set in motion through the lifestyles we've lived. And so much more rooted in this separative mind. And reading from a dear Dharma practitioner, Eden Tull, Deborah Eden Tull, many of you may know, in North Carolina, who literally just escaped with her life as her and her partner's house collapsed around them, running with nothing, covered in mud. And so there's this moment that, a couple of weeks ago, a small group of us met in Wales to talk about revolutionary Dharma, evolutionary Dharma, how the Dharma is always evolving itself, not the essentials of the Dharma is timeless and rooted in principles that are timeless and profound, but to time and place, the expression of the Dharma, the engagement of it, really exploring these times of, and the intersectionality of genocide, ecocide, and extinction, all emerging really from this, in the pitch I sent out, this loss of an ensouled world, a world where we all belong, a world that ultimately, that we know deeply, when we harm another, we harm ourselves. It's impossible when we wake up to that truth to go to war. Impossible. And so, but here we are, having to unwind from the myths of our civilization that keep us separate, from the internalized stories that keep us disempowered from the fullness of what is possible within each of us at this moment to express and shine forth this pure, conscious awareness and presence and compassion and love as a force, a spiritual force. It's almost the only force now that can really undo and reorientate us wisely, compassionately to engage this moment. And so the call, the invitation perhaps, is to move from that place of the heart, this timeless, intuitive, quantum-like, in that it can shift from outside the systems of conditioning and envision a different way, hear a different way. When we move from that place, we're moving into the place as said in the Mula Sutta, the root sutta of the Buddha, that ultimately all things merge in the Dharma. Amato gata sabe Dhamma. All things merge in this deathless Dhamma. All things, vimutti sara sabe Dhamma. All things, however twisted, however distorted, however much suffering, at the essence of every moment, every being, every circumstance, vimutti, deliverance, freedom, the timeless, the deathless, shines forth. Sara, essence, sabbe Dhamma. Dhamma in this word means thingness, the thingness of everything. At the heart is liberation already. At the heart of everything is this soul, this way that we contact the soul, is because we feel. We feel. I saw someone, the other day post something, something to the effect of, how did you become radicalized? And it was because I uncovered the depth of my human empathy. What we're talking about, the radical Dharma, really means the return to radical, really means return to the root of the ground, the common ground that we share. Tola said, ultimately, you are not a person, we are not a person, but a focal point with the universe is becoming conscious of itself. We're in a personal journey, very personal. Everything is very personal, but we're in a collective, cosmological journey of awakening. And in a certain way, like any suffering, any trauma, if we can navigate it well with wisdom, compassion, with openness, with inquiry, with the guidelines that keep us humane, the precept vehicle, then the depth of the suffering can actually activate a depth of awakening. This is true personally as well as collectively. So we're plunging further And the inquiry is, where do we move from? Where can we make this shift from the separative mind that's forever building walls, the apartheid mind, into the heart that dissolves all walls and feels the intimacy of all things. We are me, we are you, we are us at that level. So some common ground is the consciousness itself. Just Anne Baring, who's a Jungian mystic, feminist, written a very profound book called The Dream of the Cosmos, says the universe is telling us its story through our consciousness, that it has an inner life as well as a material form. This inner life or soul is the eternal ground of our own consciousness, but that experience of an ensouled world within which we are nested has been utterly lost. The universe is telling us its story through our consciousness, that it has an inner life as well as a material form. This inner life or soul is the eternal ground of our own consciousness, but that experience of an ensouled world within which we are nested has been utterly lost. I don't know if it's so much as utterly lost, because I feel we remember it, we feel it, and our connection to that feeling is a bereavement, the loss. We are connected to the loss through bereavement, through the feeling that of this being pulled out of an essential sense of belonging to each other, to an earth, to nature, this heightened individualism that we've been sort of nurtured into, that is a movement that happened for some very good reasons, but is also in that process disconnected us from our belonging. So this ground, this reclamation, this journey of reclamation of in the ensouled world is a deep reclamation of belonging. What does this mean? How can we explore this? I'm not really in this time moving towards so-called answers, but just posing the questions in our curriculum. How do we belong to each other again? How do we understand ourselves not just as an individual, but as a collective and as a cosmology of interbeing, as a point of consciousness through which everything is evolving, as a conduit for this emerging, as Ajahn Chah called, living Dharma, living truth, that is actually intuitively known through our feeling, through our sensing, through the purification of feeling, that is actually becomes pure intuition. That we hear the messages, we discern, we thread out, we winnow out until it's clear the path. The path isn't this living Dharma, isn't the books, it isn't Buddhism per se. We're not really here to be Buddhists. We're here, Buddhism is an incredible way that we honor and respect, but it's also living and it's constantly being reshaped and reformed. But we're here, this is a path that we take to liberate. We're here to be liberated, here whole, healed. We show up, celebrate this beautiful life to find our common ground. So to find our common ground in consciousness, in an ensouled way of being through the heart. To find our common ground, express that through our humanity, guided by this bodhicitta, this heart of compassion. This is the ground within which, yes, we hold boundaries. We are actually, this coming week, we'll be working on an embargo, an arms embargo. We really hear the message that Israel can't stop. It's the state of Israel. The ones driving this are in a state of insanity. They have lost all boundaries. And so it's up to us to put pressure to bring back that boundary. There is a boundary. The Buddha laid out boundaries. Sometimes people move out of the Sangha because of what they've done. He said they're like, they have to be reinstated. There are definite ways that we lose our humanity when we cross certain boundaries. So we reinforce those boundaries, we demand them, because out of compassion, this is an act of compassion, it's not an act of hatred. And it's very important in the precept vehicle and in the bodhicitta heart that we transform, that we don't allow our sense of grief and pain. We train the heart not to dwell. We might feel that, but that's not where we dwell. We transform it into clearer creation of appropriate, this shall not pass. You shall not pass, Gandalf smashing to the great Bolrag that's been unleashed from the hell. It's what we're facing, a Bolrag we're facing the gates of hell were opened and demons let loose. And humans that aren't able to protect themselves, haven't got a strong grounding in precepts in bodhicitta, are vulnerable to being influenced and doing the most heinous thing. We've seen all of this, and we're all capable in the right conditioning, the right circumstance. We should have no illusions about that. Actually, very rare people can withstand that. So when those gates open, we have to become like a Gandalf. You have to embody that. This will not pass. There's too much passing that is basically sucking the world into an absolute hellscape. We're on that cusp. So to actually amplify our humanity, and this is what I heard in this very dynamic conversation and interaction yesterday, last night, very passionate, the Israeli and Jewish Israeli and Palestinian friend coming from the same land, having deep feelings about that land. And land is the place that has been the battle point, the colonial point of extraction, domination. And in all of this, we have forgotten that the land belongs to the earth. The land doesn't belong to us as humans. You know, at some point, the wind, as said in a beautiful expression from one of the early San, Khoisan, the so-called Bushmen of Southern Africa, Dai Quan, talked about, we are meant to walk on this earth lightly, to leave light footprints so that the wind can blow away our footprints. Not to try and build an empire here to stay forever, but that's not what we're not here in that way. We're here as guests. So to ground our commonality in remembering that all that we project in terms of ownership of land has come from the stories of this human mind, not from the reality of Earth itself. And it's to Earth we must return. So this way of returning to the earth, we must really look to the indigeneity within all of us. We were all indigenous at one point, and we all got separated at some point along a timeline from that indigeneity, except for some that still remember. So I'd like to, as we're coming to the end of this time span of the Dharma, like to really call in the Kogi people as those that, among many indigenous people, that never forgot the original agreement of being here, being human here. And as you may know, the Kogi people from the high Sierra Niata mountains of Colombia, uncolonized, very few that ended up becoming shaped by this great wound, both as colonizer and as colonized, actually. There's something in the way the apartheid, those that seem to be the dominant ones, have to sustain that, the enormous self-wounding that has to take place. It's a huge thing to unpackage, the split that we all feel to some, because that's what our modern world is. It has created this split from the heart, split against ourselves, from our deeper knowing, split against the earth. So the healing of that, but the people that hold that fullness of indigeneity are those that do not have that split in that way. Or even if they have a strong remembrance and connection and root. It goes way back. So the Kogi remind us, and they've just been reminding us again, they've been sending messages to us now since 1991, praying for us, looking at what we're doing, making documentaries. They just sent another message and basically said, within a year or so, if you don't let Mother Earth, if you don't return to Mother Earth, if you don't return, then she's going to take over. And that's been very patient with us, giving us messages, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's also our work to wake ourselves and each other up to this return. They call this great spirit, this great Gaian spirit, Pachamama, they call Aluna, the source of all life and intelligence, the mind of nature that is self-aware and alive and present. We're not divorced from that. We've been conditioned to feel ourselves divorced, but this is also Dharma. The old translation, original translation of Dharma is nature. This nature is embodied in earth, in the plants and the trees, the mountains, the oceans, in all the creatures. So they offer hope. They don't see us humans as we perhaps feel ourselves now to be, some terrible mistake, some terrible blight. It may look like that, but they see us as being needed by Aluna, as part of Aluna, to participate, because this mind is embodied. We are embodied in this world and can communicate with this cosmic mind, with Aluna, with the spirit of nature, with this Dharma, this intuitive Dharma. We can hear, we can communicate everything in this. When we awake to this, we realize all is conscious. We are in a speaking, alive world. And we can begin to feel that. And in that belonging, it completely radically shifts our relationship to everything we're doing, deciding, becomes more conscious, more aware of the impacts. So the Kogi, the elders, they tell us, as we're here, as breathing, living human beings in relationship in this sacred web of life, this mind is participatory, belonging within that life, is helping support and emerge what needs to emerge to sustain this web of life, this sacred, extraordinary, exquisite, intricate, grown over millennia. They ask us to now embrace the challenges we face, to not distract ourselves, that the Luna, this spirit, this great intelligence of nature needs us more than ever, because we can communicate, we can hear this call. So whatever extent we hear and feel, I feel it's our task not to doubt, to worry, to fear, that we feel those things, they move through us, but to take courage. Once upon a time, someone asked Ajahn Chah, how did you do what you did? Like 100 monasteries under his umbrella that emerged, the way he manifested in the world, so true, so direct, so humorous. When he was asked, how did you do this? He said, I dared to do. I took courage. I dared to do. We're too timid in this moment. It calls for us to feel, what are we called to do? How do we embody that? To use our voice, to use our presence, to move beyond that which keeps us small. This is in Inception. If you're going to dream, it's one of my favorite movies. Dream big, darling. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about. That's okay. But anyway, dream big. So we're here to remember who we are together. We're here to turn up, to show up, to celebrate this life, to remember the path of love, to know that this is a moment of great awakening and great travail, that we're all needed, whether it's holding prayer, lighting a candle, getting on the streets, writing to senators, political bodies, whether it's baking a cake, reaching out, whatever sustains. It feels like it's become so precious, us as humans together. What is humane? What is beautiful? What is sustaining? What is nourishing? I feel grateful for all of that. To remember we don't own anything, actually. We don't own each other, even our children. We all have a journey, a unique unfolding. We can help build together, which is beautiful. We don't certainly own this earth. We are guests here, passing through. We are like the wind passing through. Do not build your house here. Do not build your house there. This earth, this world is a dream in our minds, in our hearts. It's real. It's consequential. It is a bridge. Our life, we are walking across a bridge. We pass over the bridge. One day we will transition from this form. What will we leave behind? The call to spend our life in devotion, spend our life in love, even if that's fierce love, challenging, like the Buddha did. He was very fierce. He spent a lot of time challenging and taking down false views. To let the fullness of life flow through us, to heal ourselves and each other, and to transform this abandoned world by bringing it back into the warmth of our human embrace. So, thank you, dear friends. Thank you for your attention and your presence. We're entering a very somber week of remembrance for so many that have suffered, felt pain, lost so much. Let's hold that in our hearts as we go forward. Thank you, Rob. Yeah. So I'm just going to close that Dharma piece, and I'm just responding here. We will be engaging. In fact, let me just invite you to join us for the next 6 weeks, because exactly what Rob has written about, we will be doing in our morning prayer circle and action. If you go to SMS events, you'll see the Guardians of the Sacred. We've been doing this all through COVID, actually, on and off. We run a series about 6 weeks, usually long, and we'll be holding sacred space, prayer, so on. And we will be joining Senator Sanders in his efforts to stop the US arming Israel's genocide. We will be engaging that. So if you feel to engage that, we will be doing that. Thank you also for this. Thank you for this, Alro and Eve. Sorry, is it? Thank you for this link. Voices of Indigenous Solutions is another huge area. In many ways we can engage the support of the wise elders. I'd also like to, if you'd like to support our work here at SMS, we're always very appreciative of Dharma, because the reality is we are in a material world, and keeping things afloat so we can run the programs we do. Thank you for that too. So yeah, I'd just like to open the space. Is there anything you'd like to respond with, share, question, etc.?